Hey everyone, my name is Ben, and welcome to Ben's Language Lab. Stories are one of the best methods to improve at a language, and stories with pictures, as we know, is even better. And so today we're going to read a comic together, you and me. This video is meant for beginner-level English learners, and so if you need, there are subtitles available, or you can see the entire transcript on benslanguagelab.com. Make sure that you subscribe for more videos just like this one. But your job right now is just to watch, listen, and enjoy. We're still reading Tintin and Red Rackham's Treasure, and there's a bunch of other stuff that you should see first before this video. So click the link in the description to start from the beginning. Now, let's start learning. Last time we left Tintin with the two Thompsons putting dirt back into the hole on a deserted island. And so we're going to go to the next day when something more interesting is happening because they're still trying to find the treasure. So we're here the next day, ... Well, you've quite made up your mind to go on searching, he says. That's a weird order of words for me. I would definitely say something like, well, you're sure you've made up your mind to go on searching? A few more days, Captain. Look, today's the 9th. If we haven't found anything by the 15th, we'll give up and go home. We'll give up the game and go home. So he's asking Tintin if he wants to continue. Is he going to go on searching? You're sure. You've made up your mind. When you make up your mind, you've decided something. Right? I've made up my mind about cheese. It's delicious. Tintin has made up his mind about going back down. He's decided it. He's going. And he's going to continue searching. So a couple of good phrasal verbs here. To make up your mind is more of a phrase there even. And then to go on searching. And then he says, all right, just give me 6 more days, right? Or I guess today's the 9th, so a week. He wants a week more, right? The 9th, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, that would be, 7 days, right? 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Yes, 7 days. Okay. And then he says, we'll give up the game, we'll let it go, and we'll go home, is what he says. And so he says, just as you please. He's basically saying, whatever, dude, do what you want. It's your choice. And then Tintin says, you won't regret it. And it will give us a chance to try and raise some of the remains of the unicorn, the figurehead, for instance. And so he's also trying to give Haddock a bit of hope that something else is happening. They can raise some of the remains, for example, the figurehead. So when you raise remains, that's basically literally bringing up remains of the ship. So the ship has kind of broken down. It's really old, right? And so if you bring upwards the remains of the ship, maybe like, for example, the figurehead, which is the little thing on the front of a ship, right? So a big old ship, right? They have, they're sort of like this, right? And then you have like the mast up here, maybe another mast, right? That's your big old ship. This is the body. Right here on the front, you might have something very fancy usually, like some kind of mermaid or creature or whatever. And that is called the figurehead because it's sort of the head of the ship, and it's usually a little figure. And so you can call it the figurehead. And they're often very beautiful, very expensive. And so he's saying to the captain that maybe we can get it back. Maybe we can recover it. And then we have to see that they have to keep pumping. They have to pump air down there. They say, off we go again, pumping. Off we go, pumping again. Here's to the 15th, and we'll be able to stop. I'm fed up with this business. And so that's a good phrase. Here's to, and fed up, and then business. So let's start from the back, actually. That's more fun. Business, in this sense, is just like stuff or things that are happening, right? So he's saying, I'm fed up with this whole deal, being on the boat, pumping, all of this is just business, right? You might have heard mind your own business. It doesn't refer to actual like business of buying and selling stuff. It refers to like just your own, your deal, what you're doing, your day-to-day life, that sort of thing. When you're fed up with something, you are annoyed by it. You're just done with it. You're getting annoyed by something, right? So if you're really fed up, you're just, I'm fed up with this. I'm annoyed, right? By the way, you can't feed someone up, though. That doesn't make sense. You're only ever fed up. And then here's to is also good. Here's to is when you are sort of thankful of something or ready for something or saying, here's to this happening, right? Here's to finding the treasure. You'll most often find it in a toast where everybody has their glass and they go, here's to the new year. And they chink glasses and you drink, right? That's a toast. And you might say, here's to something then. But in this case, he's going, well, here's to the 15th, we can leave because they want to go. And so we see Tintin go down, 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 down under the water. This, by the way, is the anchor chain. Right at the bottom, there's that anchor holding them down, the very heavy piece of metal. Now we go back to Captain, who's on the ship, saying, come to think of it, I haven't seen Calculus today. Is he ill? And he's not ill. He's in here with a magnifying glass. He's got a magnifying glass and is reading something. He's got a paper that he's reading very closely. What is he doing? He's not sick. He's not ill. What's he doing? But then we go to Thursday, and they're still pumping. So it's the 10th. They're still pumping, pushing air down there. But now it's Friday, and Caddick is wondering, what's up with Calculus? He has not left his cabin for 3 days. Right? He's been stuck inside of his cabin in this room. Your cabin is basically more of a room, but for living in on a boat. Right? So, or actually on when you're going camping or something like that. It's a small, usually wooden room meant for living in, not for like working. But he's living in his cabin and he hasn't come out. He's been inside of his cabin for 3 whole days. Why? What's he doing? Oh, okay. Well, on Saturday, the 12th, it looks like he's noticed something. His eyes are wide. He's looking at the paper going, what's happening? I wonder what he discovered. No, still nothing. We go to Sunday, the 13th. Still no luck, Captain. He hasn't found anything. They still are without the treasure. Same with Monday. They continue pumping and pumping. It's Monday now, the 14th. They're leaving the next day. It's the final day. And then we go to Tuesday, the 15th, and we see Calculus in his cabin. He's got his hand on his head. His eyes are maybe a little closed. He's thinking. Huh? He thinks of something. He's got a question mark. What's going on? And then he says, What's happening? It looks as if, oh dear, I'm right. I must warn the captain. So he notices something. He feels something, right? Oh, we're moving, I think. And so he looks out the window. He looks out the porthole. He looks outside and wonders what's happening. And then he goes, oh no, I'm right. I'm correct. He's correct. He has to warn the captain. Warn the captain about what? What does he have to go and tell the captain about that's so important? Then we go to the ship. We see the ship sailing along. It's got these waves at the front, sort of signifying that it's starting to move and it's going along. And then Tintin's talking to the captain and says, come on, Captain, don't let this upset you. It's bad luck. I know, but oh, sorry, I said that wrong. Come on, Captain, don't let this upset you. It's bad luck, I know, but you must make the best of it. And so he's saying that he shouldn't be upset, he shouldn't be angry or sad because it's just bad luck. They got unlucky. And so Tintin's saying that he agrees. They just got unlucky. That's just what happened. But you got to make the best of it. When you make the best of something is when you turn something positive, right? You go, I'm having a bad day, but I'm going to make the best of it. I'm going to have a great dinner, or something like that, where you turn things around and you make the best that you can, right? Because not every day, not everything is always going to be excellent, amazing. And sometimes you gotta just do what you can and make the best of it, because it happens. But let's see what Calculus has to say. He comes into the room. We see Haddock, Tintin, and Snowy and a bottle of rum. And he says, Captain, the ship is sailing. Well, what would you like it to do? Dance a jig? He says. Because, of course, the ship is sailing. It's a ship. It sails. That's what ships do, right? And so Haddock is kind of annoyed. Like, of course it's sailing. It's a ship, right? Do you want it to dance? Right? Dance a jig is it's like a little dance, right? Do you want it to do a little dance? What? And then he says, I see now. At last, you've realized that the unicorn is not where you were looking. You are steering westwards. I understand. And he's still talking about the fact that he thinks that things are further west from his pendulum. But he is wrong. He's not being very helpful. He thinks that they are finally going the right way, but he says, and then Haddock gets kind of upset. He goes, I've had enough. Come with me, he says. And he goes out onto the balcony here, right? So they're above the rest of the ship. This is down below. And he points out to the figurehead. It's a big figurehead, big, beautiful horse. It's a unicorn, actually. And he says, do you see that, eh? I suppose it's the figurehead of the Titanic. And so now he's upset because Calculus is being pretty dumb. He's not being very helpful. He's not able to hear anything, but he thinks he knows everything. He thinks he understands what's going on. And so Haddock is trying to show him that the unicorn is here, where it was there. It was back there, right? They're moving now, but they found the unicorn. They have a literal unicorn. It is not from the Titanic. So I suppose it's the figurehead of the Titanic, huh? And so he's trying to prove a point. He's trying to prove to Calculus that Calculus is wrong, right? So he's proving a point. And then he says, my word, it's a unicorn. But what about my pendulum, which swung to the west? How extraordinary. And so he's believing more in his pendulum than in what he actually sees. But anyways, we're sailing back now. It's now Wednesday, the 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th, 21st, 22nd. A whole long week of sailing goes by. They continue going on the water, sailing forth. And it's now July 23rd when we're in somebody's office and we hear ring, ring. Hello? Daily Reporter? Yes? What? The Sirius is docked. Are you sure? Good, thanks. And so now he's a reporter. He says, Daily Reporter, because somebody had told him some news, right? They said the Sirius, their boat has come back. It's docked, right? It's in the city. It's in the docking where the boats go to live, right? That's called the dock. And so then he picks up another phone. So he's got his first phone. He puts it down. He picks up a second phone and goes, hello, is that you, Rogers? Go to the docks at once. The Sirius has just come in. I want to hear a good story about her, he says. And so he's a writer. He works for a newspaper, for the Daily Reporter, and he wants the story. He wants to know what's going on. So he sends Rogers out there right away, at once, and to hear a good story about the ship, about her. And so there's going to be somebody coming to the dock to ask them questions. But now we're here on the boat, and we hear Professor Calculus saying, well, Captain, I'll say goodbye to you now. I have my submarine collected tomorrow morning. All right, good. And so he's leaving. He's going to go away, and somebody's going to come tomorrow to collect his submarine, right? Remember the shark, right? That went under. His big old shark submarine. That's my drawing of a shark. His whole shark submarine is on the boat still, and so they're going to have to collect it. And so somebody's going to come by and get the shark and go. Now, please let me thank you, Captain. You have been so very kind, he says. Oh, it was nothing. Because he wasn't really being very kind. He got very frustrated and upset. Yes, Captain. Thank you. I shall always have unforgettable memories of my stay on board. And so shall I. He's, again, a little upset. But Calculus is being very genuine. He's being very nice. He's saying it's unforgettable. He can't forget what happened. He created really beautiful memories inside of his mind. He's thinking of these things. What happened are some wonderful memories of his time. His stay, when he stayed on board, which is on the ship, right? So when he stayed on the ship, he's going to have wonderful memories because the captain was so very kind. Then we hear suddenly, thud, a big old boom, boom. I don't want to really pop my microphone, but yeah, like that, a thud, pop. And then we see a man who fell onto the ground. He fell down the stairs, boom. Excuse me, I missed a step. So he's saying he was walking down. He was going 1, 2. He sort of skipped one, right? So these are steps. And so he hit 1, 2. He missed. He stepped here and fell down, right? So that's missing a step. Allow me to introduce myself. Ken Rogers of the Daily Reporter. Daily Reporter? Wasn't yours the paper that gave the news of our departure? It was. Because remember, when they were leaving, the newspaper talked about it and everybody wanted some of the treasure. Everybody came and they were kind of upset because they didn't have a treasure and they wanted to go on their own. And so he's a little upset with him now, too. He's upset with Calculus. He's upset with Ken Rogers, who is introducing himself. Hi, I'm Ken Rogers of the Daily Reporter. He says, wasn't that your paper who gave her the news of our departure? It was, and we would like to publish a sensational article about your trip, he says. May I ask you a few questions? Of course. And so he says that he wants to publish, to write and release. I will publish this video after it's done. But he wants to publish an article, a sensational article, a beautiful, amazing, long, awesome article. Sensational. About your trip, he says. May I ask you a few questions? Of course, he says. I'm rather busy myself. This is my secretary, Mr. Calculus. He will be happy to answer all of your inquiries, he says. And so what he's doing is he's handing off the task. He's giving the task to Calculus. So from him to Calculus saying, this man is going to answer your questions because I don't want to. Because he's a little bit upset, right? He's saying that he's his secretary. A secretary is somebody who essentially just helps somebody do their job. They take notes, they take phone calls, they remember names. All those sorts of things are a secretary. And so he's saying that he's going to answer all of your questions. Inquiries is basically just a fancy word for questions. You can make an inquiry. And we still use that word today. It's not old-fashioned. It's just fancy. Like if you're doing some sort of business thing, you might use the word inquiry. But anyways. And Calculus says, I'd be delighted. However, we're going to have to figure out what happens when he can't hear anything in the next episode, because we're going to leave it there for today. Thank you so much for watching and enjoying. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and comment down below with how it went. I'll see you next time for the next video. Oh, and remember, all of the transcripts are on benslanguagelab.com. I'll see you next time. Bye.